Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for our third session in this three-part transformation. I've been feeling the transformation continuing through the week for people and noticing the impact. And I'm just so grateful that we're here together and doing this light-filled work together. So thank you again so much for participating in this with me. It's quite a miraculous time to be here on the planet and to be able to move through so much karma, so much emotional history, so much thought form created experience. It's just astounding to be with this with all of you. So, as usual, I'm not quite sure where we're going to go today, and let's dive into this healing amplification together. I'm going to listen for just another moment if there's anything else to share before we start our opening meditation. Well, yes, there is. A couple of things. I'm present with the resounding heart call. It's like this profound, kind of out of a movie scene, right? Where the symphony is glorified, right? It's like this gorgeous, light-filled call home. It's your heart calling home. And so as we start our opening meditation, I'd like to just point this out to you, bring your attention to this in yourself, to bring your attention towards the purity and resonance, the divine heart call. It's your own heart. It's your own divine heart calling you back home, calling you home into the resonance with your true being, with the divine perfection, the divine harmony, the divine exquisiteness in which you were created and which you already are. And because we have these octaves of expression, these octaves of creation where we birth ourselves out into individuated forms for creation, exploration, and experience, because we do this brilliant creating, because we do this, we can then have the experience of being further away from our source self, when ultimately it's all one and there's no separation and there's no difference. But because we have created these layers of identity, a soul identity, human identity, because we've created these layers of identities, we have a resting point of perception that's a gift. And so we are gifted the experience of our humanness, where we don't fully remember the totality of what we are. And so in this heart call is coming all the way through from your source self, through all the octaves of your being, to reach your humanness now, to reach your soul now, to reach your humanness now. And so I encourage you throughout this entire session to align yourself to align yourself with, align yourself towards that heart's call, to hear your heart calling you home. And it's not just a sound. I've mentioned that all these aspects of consciousness, it's one thing. And so sound, frequency, geometry, physics, all these elements are all connected in this. And so in this call home, you may experience it in an infinite number of ways. It's like a gravitational pull that's filled with harmony and light and lightness. If you can imagine gravity that's light, this exquisite heart call, calling you, that which you already are, into resonance with yourself and the depth of your being. Thank you. Thank you all for listening. And I'm seeing the soul classroom now. And seeing this call, having brought you to the classroom in a beautiful, beautiful harmony. And I'm seeing I'm seeing the difference between last week and this week. And present with the degree of focus, commitment, transformation, love, surrender, engagement in this process, and seeing varying degrees among each of you. So I'm basically seeing each of you where you are in this moment. And there's an organization in the soul classroom. Everyone's settling in. A few of you that know each other are exchanging notes. I've never actually seen that before in the soul classroom of souls looking at what has happened for them during the last week, being with that, maturing and healing, and then communicating with each other. It's a just beautiful. It's just beautiful to see the incredible amplification, the frequency of light that's present for each of you. So I'd like to be quiet for a little bit, and I'm not sure if we are going to start with an opening meditation or if we're going to just dive into the healing, and then I'll share more after that. So I'll just be quiet for a moment, and then I'll let you know. Okay, so let's all just sit together for a minute in silence. And just let yourself get comfortable. I think we might be diving into the start of the healing session. The healing is still continuing, and I would love to just speak a little bit to the process that's unfolding. And if you are deep in your meditation, there's no need to focus on my words, and you can be present with the words at a later time. So just continuing to allow yourself to be in the depth of the process. I'm present with the light and the sound of your heart essence. And as we all rest in this healing container together, amplifying each other's pure, true, clear note. As we do this, the transformation process continues. And as I have shared in previous sessions about the clear, true note of a tuning fork played in a room will then vibrate all the other tuning forks that are of that same frequency. And so this is what is occurring in the soul classroom right now, as each of you are supported in a way that amplifies that true note of yourself. It makes it easier for your personality self to hear and to open to. And in this amplification, the octaves of your being that have been exploring in and experiencing in so many different ways that then get to explore the universe. Those aspects are hearing in this amplification, hearing your heart sound, hearing your heart light, essence, divine singing. And as we rest in this container together, in this amplification, the layers of story, the layers of experience are transforming. The frequencies that aren't in this level of precision organize themselves to align with this deeper, clear, true note of being. And so I've been sitting with the pure note, the pure tone of each of you, and being with the dissolving, the falling away, the transforming, the transmutation of multiple layers of consciousness. In this process, I get to see the details of all of our thought forms of humanity, and see the dissonance, the discord, and also the perfection in the unfolding that's happening. So, speaking about the purity, it becomes clear how we have forgotten our wholeness, or rather, it becomes clear the ideas and concepts and way of living that we take for granted, assuming that the world functions that way. And so I'm seeing all these ways that we relate to each other and creation and the earth through an idea of being separate. And as I sit with this profound resonance with the harmony of each of us, what's coming forward is the harmony that looks and feels and creates differently than the current level of normalcy that most of us function from in humanity. When we come into individuation and fall into our stories, which is a beautiful experience. It's a storytelling. It's a part of how the storytelling and the unfolding has occurred. So I'm experiencing this paradox, right? I'm witnessing both simultaneously. As the light meets the conditioning, simultaneously the truth of the light is present with the storyline of the conditioning. And so I'm trying to use my language, speaking of the paradox, but our language doesn't work that way. I need to sort of speak to both sides of the coin, just because of language. So when I'm going to speak to the resonance, the beauty, the light, what has been coming through and is continuing to come through in this session as I speak. In this wholeness, there's a self-recognition of the individuation and the oneness simultaneously. There's no confusion, there's no problem. The paradox doesn't seem paradoxical. It's just a intrinsic, inherent self-recognition of being oneness and being this individuated expression. And in this unique love, light, sound frequency, I'm present with the singing of love, the sound of love that emanates through you as you, that is different than the unique singing of love of someone next to you. And yet, simultaneously, it is the one love song that's happening. When we collapse into our individuated self, bringing in an amplification of the individuation, we can forget that we're one. And in that forgetting, there can then be a comparison of one singing from another. There's a comparison that starts to happen of the unique amplification, of the uniqueness. And when we fall deeper into that identification of the individual uniqueness, then there can also be a sense of lack, or a sense of lack, that somehow that over there has more than what's here, or that is better. And when identification falls deeper into the sense of lack, then there's not a sense of safety, there's not a sense of wholeness. And the way that manifests in this world, one way is trying to own, competition, be in a sense of being better than. There's all the fracturing in our psyche and in our cultures and consciousness then manifests. And in the returning home, the high light frequencies of self, of this heart call, meeting you as the storyteller on these multiple octaves of being, that call brings one back into the wholeness, and all the fracturing starts to be seen as an illusion. Because we're not separate, because there is enough, because we are creation itself, because we are the singular totality that birthed itself in this individuated multiplicity in an ecstatic expression. And so as we come back into our wholeness, come back into this resonance of infinite love, light, truth, harmony, these places of identification from that fracturing then surrender themselves, surrender their storylines, surrender their emotions, surrender their thoughts. And so I've been present with all of this surrendering throughout this session. Because we're love, light, sound, geometry, form, substance, physics, math, chemistry, because we are all that, the memory resonance of all of that from each experience created in the fabric of time and space, because we are all that memory, that residue memory in those qualities also has to let go. And it lets go in the dissolving and the full return into the infinite emptiness from which all experience and all being and all identity arises. And so the storylines of your memory, the storylines of your history, the storylines of who you think you were or think you are, all dissolve in this session, in this meeting, the amplification of the truth of your singular totality singing in a unique love sound. And as we rest in the greater wholeness discovered through our time together, as we rest in this wholeness, which is continuing to deepen and reveal itself as the session continues, as we rest in this together, the possibility of a new world appears and becomes present. And so I encourage you to continue to listen to the depth of this sound of your divine heart singing. When we recognize that our uniquenesses do not create lack, we get to embrace and enjoy the bliss of being both a unique expression of this magnificent singular totality, and enjoy the bliss of experiencing our one self as another unique expression. And so then we get to live the oneness tasting itself in uniqueness. the wave, the movement of air, the waft of air gets to meet the curl of a fern, and water that itself can be hard or soft, can flow or have force. Water that is all that expression itself gets to meet a rock or saturate earth or dissolve up and be evaporated into air and then precipitate as rain, gets to be drunk, gets to fill up a cell, gets to clear and purify. So each of these expressions in the uniqueness aren't separate from the whole, but get to experience and express in the uniqueness in this unfolding combination, infinitely transforming combination of oneness tasting itself. I'm wanting to use the example of how these healing sessions work as an example of how you will then function in your life for others. You will function the same way this healing session functions for you. You will function that way for others. So that you, resting in your hum of love, light, truth, essence, you are then the anchor of that truth. You are then the tuning fork. Others around you may be ready to hear that note resonated within themselves. And then your presence has simply struck the truth of the true nature of the people that are around you, for them to then hear their own inner call of their own unique love, light, sound, singing tone. It may be that others aren't quite ready for that. And may have responses of irritation, moving away, dissonance, because they're not quite ready to hear the true note of their singing. The more of us that come into this alignment and sing this song through the universe and in through this realm of being, in through our humanness, the more of us that do that, it makes it easier for those that aren't quite ready to become ready. And so there is no force. There is just love. There is love and the influence of harmony. And so I encourage each of you to create practices for yourself, daily practices of love, to create a support system for yourself, to keep tuning yourself to the truth of your heart, to the truth of your unique love song. Whether it's little notes on your bathroom mirror, or a practice you do every morning, or evening, or midday, whatever that is. And sometimes we create systems and then they're not as effective. When that starts to happen, if that starts to happen, change it up, add another one. So you are engaging in the self-love co-creation to support yourself to continue to resonate as this pure, gorgeous God, goddess, king, queen, brilliant, exquisite manifestation of being that you are, in the midst of a realm that is still singing disharmony. And so this is to support yourself. Sing your higher octaves of being in through the dimensions of existence, so that the heart call sound that calls you home, you are singing throughout each of your octaves. And so creating practices to support you doing that are useful. We have contributed so much together in these sessions. And I am profoundly grateful for the amplification of the symphony of love and light and truth that we all are. So much has changed. I've been present in this session during the period of silence. I've been present with the shifting happening in through the heart, the body, the emotions, the mind, the memory. And witnessing typical thought patterns opening themselves up to discover a new truth. And so I invite you to allow yourself, gift yourself the open mind for the rewriting of time and space, where your old thoughts of how things functioned can actually be transformed, and you can open and live a new way of being, a new thought. You can open to living the harmony of love, where you recognize everything around you is an expression of living love in a unique divine frequency that supports the functioning of embodiment, supports the function of oneness getting to embody and animate in through form, where love light manifests as living substance. And then everything is a divine, exquisite expression of that. And your interfacing with everything becomes that, is that. Where the fabric of a pillow is then a unique divine expression. And the consciousness of a crystal is equal in stunning expression of love and oneness in a uniqueness. And our interactions then change how we perceive when we're walking through a grocery store or any store where you purchase items, or walking along the street, or walking through a crowd of people, or having a conversation, perceiving your lover, perceiving someone that you have stories about from the old way. As we come into this newness, the whole thing changes. The whole thing changes. And so I invite you to gift yourself the open mind of not knowing. Allow yourself the blank, infinite slate of light, of a light mind. Light in all ways you want to use the word. Where the mind is simply an illumination. And the heart is pure love. And in the living union of that, we then see with a mind and heart as one, and live this love light in an openness that doesn't reference old story to describe the current moment. From this purification, we live each moment as our divine, love-lit self. And each moment is new. Each moment is completely new. Resting in this newness, resting in this freshness. We are the inhabiting love light essence, experiencing and expressing the oneness and the individuation simultaneously as each profound moment of now. In this moment, allow your body to receive. Allow your body to open and drink this love light essence that you are. Allow your cells to fully saturate, allowing water of flesh to resonate at its highest frequency. Allow yourself to open to the love and the light of source purity. Allow your heart that has believed a lack. Allow your heart to receive the brilliance. Allow your heart to open to this infinite wholeness and purity of love essence that you are. Allowing that tender place that has felt small or not enough or not worthy or ashamed or tired or fearful, confused, lost. Allow that place to open and receive to drink this infinite love, light, illumination that you are. Allowing the heart to open in resonance with the body illumination, the cellular illumination. Allowing the autonomic nervous system in through the brain and the spine. Allowing the integration to occur as the heart and the body come into cohesive resonance of this infinite love light of your true nature. Allowing this to ground in through your sense of being. And gently allowing the mind, to rest in this illumination, softening. Allowing the illuminated light of Source Mind, illuminated light of Source, to illuminate your current sense of mind. And allowing the illumination of love harmonize your whole system, your whole field of being. As your heart gently pulses love and light through your body in all dimensions. Resting here together in the stillness, where the light and love, where light, love, resonance, radiance is simultaneously an infinite stillness and a mystery beyond comprehension. Resting here, we ground and align our octaves of being with our source self, where we are one, harmonizing our unique expression into the void and into existence. And take this moment to notice the fullness and the emptiness of your presence, the infiniteness and the ground simultaneously present. Simultaneously present in your awakeness and your enlightenment here. There's a question that came in that I'd like to respond to. I'm responding to it energetically before I use words. Thank you so much for this question. There's an individual in the group had been feeling a sense of detachment in through at some point in the session. I'm not sure what the timing of that was. We are all gorgeous and unique, and many have experienced pain in through these experiences of separation. And the same way we might get a thorn in our skin that doesn't come out, and the body forms something around it to protect the body from it, in its healing process. We sometimes do this with our inner realities, where there's so much pain that we can't quite process in a particular moment, so things get tucked away, like in the back of your closet. And as we become illuminated, as we open to this truth, there are places that will receive the light more easily. The same way water flows to the easiest places to go to. And so we have split ourselves in this fragmentation. We have done that, and there are reflections of that on the inside. And so sometimes the mind gets illuminated before the emotions do, or a higher octave of being is illuminated where one doesn't quite have access to the feeling of the embodied heart in your humanness. And so a sense of detachment can occur for many reasons, but it's some sort of what I was just saying. There's some sense of separation at play, either because of the octave that's being opened to, that hasn't opened to then the human octaves, or the mind has been opened to but not the heart, or an aspect of self has been opened and yet a tender place is still kind of protected, sequestered off somewhere that one doesn't have access to yet. And so that sense of detachment can be any of those, and I'm sure there are other examples of that also. In my silence with the question that came in, I became present with all these different possibilities and the details of the shifting that occurs when light illuminates through the whole system. And so that meditative act supports the integration for that individual and supports that integration for all individuals. There's a idea that I have come across a number of times in spiritual circles where an awakening or opening has occurred in one of these ways mentioned, that I just mentioned, but hasn't included the whole. And so that sense of detachedness, where the heart is not full up and center, can occur. And sometimes there's a misunderstanding that enlightenment has been reached or awakening has been mastered, or some finish line has been met. And in my experience, there's a different fullness in the aliveness, in the full embodiment, in through form, substance, and in through the heart. And so for me, that detachedness is an indicator that there's more. And the freedom that comes from the integration and opening, embodiment in through the heart, is exquisite. And different from that detached infiniteness. Resting here in the wholeness that's present. There's a fullness and an emptiness. And there's an astounding radiance, presence, embodied, engaged, full, empty stillness. And all these words pale in comparison to the living reality. I'd like to invite you to notice a sound as you rest in this wholeness and resonance of being. Notice a sound where the inside and the outside are seamless. A sound seems to be in the outside, but is heard on the inside. Allowing yourself to continue to integrate noticing your heart humming on the inside and outside seamlessly. Noticing your presence on the inside and outside seamlessly. Where the outside is inside and the inside rests within that which is on the outside. Both nesting in the other simultaneously. We are the living gift, and everything we have to share has been gifted to us to gift. And so when we live in this resonance of love, light, being, everything is reflected back as a precious divine expression and gift. And so our very presence, our very being is a gift that is gifted and continues to share and gift again. And so living is then an act of love. Every word, every thought, every moment, every exchange is actually love gifting itself. And our very life in the embodiment of this and the self-realization of this and the self-actualization of this. Your breath is a gift. Your presence on the earth is a gift. Every step you take is a gift. Every moment is the lived actualization of love, light, frequency, manifesting as form, manifesting as a moment. Your very being is the crucible of creation. Each moment is an embodied act of love, light, frequency, becoming. A becoming which then disappears instantly, where the words that were just said are gone. And in this self-realization, each breath, each moment, each thought is a divine creation. It is gifted from a source that one cannot see. Gifted through the layers of being, through the octaves of individuation and the collective. Gifted through this multiplicity for function to happen, for a lifetime to happen, for a moment to occur. And so each moment is the lived, precious, divine act of love, loving, love becoming, love manifesting. And so the movement of the breeze through a curtain, the curtain is amazing, the wind is amazing, the movement is amazing, the sensation on skin is amazing, the hairs on the skin are amazing, that everything, everything is amazing, right? We step into this, the fullness of life, the fullness of life. And each act, each moment, each step, each breath is the living light embodiment of this profound, exquisite mystery that we all are. I'm going to just share a little bit about my experience in the silence part. There's so many things that happened, and sometimes it seems too technical for me to share, and so but it feels right to share this piece. We're all functioning on these multiple octaves at the same time, and so we're larger. The deeper we go, the octaves that are at a higher frequency are larger and more inclusive. And so the way your soul has memory of all lifetimes, of all of your lifetimes, and usually people only have memory of this lifetime, right? So the soul octave that's higher has a larger perspective. We sing ourselves into being, octave to octave to octave. Each of those octaves being a sense of self that gets to have an experience within an environment. And so I was resting in this deeper singing, and that singing was singing down through to the soul self and the personality self to continue to harmonize those aspects of being. And so I say this to encourage you to recognize it's an ongoing illumination, and that life continues to illuminate itself. And this singing is a fine-tuning of the pitch, and mathematically can be continually fine-tuned over and over again, or deeper and deeper, or to a more and more refined number or frequency. And this is what evolution is, where there's a deeper, pure singing that is guiding the harmonizing of the singing on each of these octaves of being. And we just happen to be at this point in time where a divine attunement is making its way through all these octaves. And so it's a gift. And there's no ending point, and there's no judgment of the songs that have been sung. And the master tuner, way back far where we can't see, continues to tune all the way through the layers of consciousness, all the way through the layers of octaves of being. And the further out aspects that have been exploring through humanity, those octaves hear the call and fine-tune. And so we're all just coming into a greater harmonic, cosmic attunement of this divine singing symphony that we are. So if you feel some dissonance in yourself, I'm encouraging you to not judge yourself. And that all of us along the whole trajectory are always in an evolutionary perfecting embodiment, a perfecting exploration. So through this process, there's an encouragement to continue to open and just continue to listen. And to live in this harmony that organizes itself and fine-tunes itself. And so, simply put, we are this ecstatic, mysterious exquisiteness that continually makes itself more and more exquisite. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you so much for participating in this Illumination Embodiment series. If you have found benefit from it, please share the opportunity with your friends. The more of us that wake up to our illuminated true nature, the more light we will spread through our planet. So please join me in sharing and spreading the illumination through 2020. Thank you so much. Namaste.